So does your shoulder bridge look like this? Or maybe it feels a little bit like this. Oh, ow. Or perhaps maybe even feels like this. Cramp, 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 cramp. If any of these sound familiar to you, then here are 5 tips to help you better connect into your shoulder bridge. So the first tip has to do with the placement of your feet when you're going into your setup. So when you come to lie down on your back, you want to make sure that your feet are hip distance apart. So that's the distance of your hip bones rather than the outside of your legs. What this will do is just give you a slightly more stable base to work from. From there, you just want to make sure the feet aren't too close to the bum. Otherwise, we find that the quads tend to dominate the movement. So you want to take the feet a little further away from your bum. And it should be a fairly comfortable position to hold. And what this will do is allow you better connection through the back line of your legs and glutes and into your lower abdominals. So now your feet are in position, we want to bring some stability into that lower body. So can you think about your big toes, your little toes, and your heels? Can you press those 3 points gently down into the mat? And what you should feel is an activation of your legs. So the main purpose of this cue is to help prevent you from sinking back into the heels as you lift and lower the hips, as this is what will typically cause some of that cramping in the backs of your legs. So if you know that this is something you feel, this is a good cue for you to start with. So now we want to think about how the upper body can support us. I'd like you to think about your triceps, your upper arms. Can you gently press them down in towards your mat? What you should feel is a widening of the chest and collarbone area and an opening of the shoulders. This in turn will help you to feel a little bit more squeeze in your back line, and this will help you to support your body better as you're lifting and lowering your hips. So we've got all the cues to help us find a strong and stable base for our shoulder bridge, but let's now think about the movement itself. So all I want you to think about is your pubic bone, which is based at the bottom and front of your pelvis. And I want you to imagine that you're trying to pull your pubic bone up your body to touch your nose. And this goes for when you're lifting and lowering your hips. What this will do is help you to connect deeper into the lower abdominals and the glutes, and this should help to take any pressure away from the lower back and your hamstrings. So take a breath in. As you breathe out, think about drawing that pubic bone up towards your nose. You'll find the lower abdominals start to kick in. Keep thinking about drawing that pubic bone up as you continue to lift the pelvis off the floor. You'll find then that the glutes start to activate. Now you come as high as you feel is comfortable for you. Now for me, I'm quite tight in my quads and in my hip flexors, which means I can't come too high before my pelvis tilts forward and I arch into my lower back, and I then lose that feeling of lower abdominals. So if I keep that feeling of keeping my pubic bone drawing up to my nose, I might have a slightly smaller range, but what I'm finding is a lot more connection here, a lot more connection here, and I don't feel anything in here, and the stress in the hamstrings is significantly reduced. It's the same as you come down. So as you're rolling down through the spine, keep trying to think about that pubic bone drawing up to your nose until you come all the way down, and then you can take that rest and breath. And then you go again. So for your last cue, I'd like you to think about your rib cage, specifically the lower front ribs. So you might find that as you're coming up into your shoulder bridge, your ribs start to pop. Now what this does, it creates a little extra load into the spine that we don't want and disconnects us from the lower abdominals that we work so hard to find in the last cue. So what I'd like you to do is think about drawing your front bottom ribs down in towards your back. What this does, it kicks the upper abdominals in, which reconnects you into your lower abdominals, better into the glutes, and again takes out the load of your lower back, thus giving you a much stronger and more stable shoulder bridge.